Before I start talking about unstructured data, just reflecting on my 30 years in IT, my first job was all about structured data. And 30 years ago, 1993, unstructured data really was in its infancy. And the amount of unstructured data that we dealt with was really emails, and emails didn't actually go outside your organisation. They stayed within your organisation. So the embryonic phases of unstructured data began in the 90s and has just accelerated since. And now I look back and think about how much unstructured data we've got, and it's just incredible how much is out there. But it's really only been starting to evolve for the last 30 years. All right, clicker. Oh, clicker. Clicker does something. Click. Click that button. No.
That's coming.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
So the topic, sorry, technical hurdle, the untapped potential of unstructured data and the practical steps for harnessing its power. Massive untapped potential in unstructured data. What we'd like to talk to you today is about some of those challenges, some of the barriers and some practical steps you can take to actually start unleashing the value that's trapped in unstructured data. And since Frisk uses artificial intelligence to drive our insights, to aid decision making, we thought that we'd use a bit of AI. Oh. Oh. Green arrow. Oh, that makes sense, doesn't it? No. Oh, there we go. And who's heard of this? ChatGPT? Who hasn't heard of it? It's probably raise your hand, right? ChatGPT's been all the rage. So, as a bit of fun today, we actually got ChatGPT to write this presentation. So if it's really bad, we can blame the bot. And I'd suggest that we start using blame the bot for everything. I didn't do it, it was the bot. Blame the bot. It's going to be great, great excuse. In all seriousness though, in a couple of years, we won't be using our brains to write these types of presentations, so we're only kidding, we didn't actually use ChatGPT. But it's not far down the path that we will actually start using that type of technology. And we actually did use ChatGPT as a little bit of a cheat, and we asked ChatGPT that question. There's a bit of text there, because it's a bot, but I just wanted to draw your attention to the top line and the sentence in the third paragraph. So ChatGPT said, the challenge with unstructured data is that it lacks a specific format or structure, making it difficult to process, analyse and interpret using traditional methods. And down the bottom, to overcome these challenges, organisations need to invest in advanced tools and techniques such as natural language processing, machine learning and data mining to extract insights and unstructured data. So ChatGPT is right on the money. It's actually quite a challenging space. But what we'll do now is we'll talk about a human's understanding of what the challenges are. So this is now non-ChatGPT related. We can't blame the bot anymore. Okay. Structured data is challenging because it's different formats. Documents, emails, chat, video, images, etc. And just to highlight some of the impacts that IoT is having, so the IoT world is another space of tech that's exploded in the last few years. Let's take the example of body-worn cameras that some police, law enforcement departments use. So a body-worn camera is collecting a whole heap of unstructured data. It is collecting details about the police officer that's wearing it and possibly the squad or the group that they're working in. It's collecting geospatial data. It's collecting audio, which then converts to text. It's collecting images, which can then be used to identify objects and people in the video. So just that one IoT device is collecting a massive amount of unstructured data that needs to be in some way harnessed. The second challenge is around the high volume of unstructured data. So it is growing exponentially, and it requires large amounts of storage to actually store it and to harness it. And thank goodness the cost of storage has come down since I started in IT. Generally, the lucky viewpoint is that unstructured data can sit on low cost storage. However, it's huge. So just to give you another example, Frisk is currently working with a state government agency to index over 3 billion archived emails so that they can go back and look at those emails. So that's a massive number of individual pieces of unstructured data. And finally, unstructured data needs really advanced tools and really smart people to be able to extract the insights from it. So insights into unstructured data doesn't happen by accident. Some of the conversations I have with the people that are deep in this space and some of my data science team just blow my mind. Their ability to get into the unstructured data world is incredible. So what does just rattling off some of those common unstructured data types. So the explosion of digital workflows has meant that we've seen a massive increase in physical and digital forms that are filled out, that are scanned, that are collecting semi-structured and unstructured data at a massive rate of knots. This can be things like customer details forms, application forms, tax returns, instant reports. There's a massive deluge of this type of information being collected on a day-to-day basis. The other massive area of unstructured data in government is documents and attachments. So we all can appreciate that SharePoint will be absolutely filled with documents. File share still exists out there. Documents are attached to emails. We've got PDFs, we've got Word documents, we've got PowerPoint presentations. So they are absolutely everywhere within the public sector. These can also include text, images, a whole variety of different unstructured types of information sitting within those repositories. Another type of unstructured data is customer feedback through either public websites, chatbots, or even phone call transcripts. So the software out there these days that work in call centres can actually transcribe the conversation. There's another form of unstructured data that has value. And then finally, aspects of our day-to-day operational tasks are all unstructured, such as calendar invites, meeting agendas, and there's many, many more different types of unstructured data sources in the public sector. Just to give you some stats around the size and scale of unstructured data. So by 2025, the rate of growth for data will be equivalent to Google every 4 days. Okay? 2025 isn't a very long time away either. A year after next. So the growth of unstructured data is huge, and it generally represents 80% of an organisation's information. Okay, 80 to 90%. Yet, in a recent poll by Deloitte, only 18% of businesses have any sort of strategy to manage their unstructured data. That same Deloitte poll actually found that executives who say unstructured data is one of the most valuable sources of insights are 24% more likely to have exceeded their business goals. So those that try to harness the power, those that harness the power, are the ones that reap the greatest benefits. But is this insurmountable? So is this deluge of unstructured data completely impossible for us to get on top of? Well, if the Australian government has a vision to be one of the top 3 digital governments in the world by 2025, we don't really have an option. We've got to get on top of this and find a solution to this pervasive challenge across all of the large public sector organisations. So let's have a quick chat about the barriers that exist around unstructured data. So the first is legacy technology. So legacy tech is a big challenge in the unstructured data world because a lot of these systems were actually architected before unstructured data became very prolific. So legacy systems will actually be inflexible, fragile, unable to scale to meet the demands of new requirements. It's estimated that these legacy systems still account for 31% of technology systems within organisations worldwide. So this is a big barrier. So you need to consider a strategy that appreciates that your legacy systems may hold you back in harnessing the power of unstructured data. Indexing is only part of the solution. So many organisations, when attempting to interrogate large volumes of unstructured data, generally refer to this as a data lake, conceptualise it as a search problem and deduce that an indexing platform is the solution. So indexing itself doesn't facilitate insights. That's part of the challenge. making decisions or executing actions off the plan of that, off the back of the insight. You need more powerful technology that moves beyond indexing and into the insight world. Moving into insights requires strategy, planning and investment. Just taking an example of the health sector is drowning in unstructured data. And there's many different ways in the health sector to refer to something. And a really simple example is in the world of pharmaceuticals. So Panadol can be referred to as paracetamol. And that can be incredibly hard to harness because of the many different ways you can actually refer to that particular painkiller. Unless the clinician is actually dropping down and selecting from a list of painkillers, then it's almost impossible to connect the dots between different clinical records. Indexing health data can save large amounts of time in finding information about a patient presenting at hospital, but imagine the benefits that could be realised from a hospital having immediate access to insights about the patient's unstructured health data. These insights could be used to improve the quality of care and increase efficiency in the hospital system, a problem that every state and territory is currently dealing with. Ramping is absolutely rife amongst the hospital system at the moment. And in some cases, having these insights at hand could actually literally save lives. Not everyone can swim in a data lake, okay? So many organisations have made the investment into data lakes and have tried to meld the structured and unstructured data world in this lake. But they can be very time consuming and very costly. And it was actually in Canberra at a conference a few years ago, I first heard the term data swamp, which is a lake that has no strategy, no governance, and then turns into a swamp where nothing can actually be extracted. Large volumes that only the data scientists and engineers are typically the only ones that can pull any analytics or insights out of it. And we love the data scientists and engineers, but you guys are expensive and you're also hard to find. So this means that there's often delays in getting the insight out of the data lake. And we've talked to many organisations who say we send off the request and 3 weeks later we get some sort of extract out of the data lake for the question that we asked. That isn't timely enough. A lot of questions are being asked and need to answer in 24, 48 hours, not 3 weeks from the time in which the question's been asked. We bang on about democratisation. Democratising the access to insights into the unstructured and structured data is an absolute must for businesses. We can't have that value locked away to a chosen few. The other barrier or the other challenge is that a lot of data science teams become really churning out the same thing over and over again because they're seeing the same requests come through. So they're just doing the same thing. They're not being given the time, the ability to actually focus on some really sexy problems. Democratising it and placing the ability for a normal user to do some interrogation and gain insights is a massive burden remover for the data science team. Bespoke solutions are time intensive. So the bespoke approach is both difficult and expensive because many organisations lack the breadth and depth of required skills to take on this task at scale. So let's be honest, tackling this problem is very challenging, and harnessing unstructured data is a big undertaking. Simon, the previous presenter, talked about data trust. Trust doesn't exist in unstructured data. There's no trust in that data. You've got to take insights on what you can actually build and understand. There's no structure to it. There's no consistency to it. So trust doesn't exist. Need to complement off-the-shelf products or a system written from scratch can be limited in capability, costly to build and expensive to support. So bespoke isn't always a fantastic path to follow. And also bespoke generally means not integrated. So truly harnessing unstructured data requires integration. Often a data science team will develop a novel tool that performs a useful service, but because it has not been developed holistically as part of a larger unstructured data strategy, it ends up being either a one-trick pony or doesn't integrate with anything or anything else or anyone. Or it can be actually a many-headed monster with additional features bolted together without any overarching design process. So that's the risk around bespoke systems. So how can government agencies tap into this potential? And how can we get to be in the top 3 digital governments in the world by 2025? Firstly, seek out expertise in unstructured data, okay? So get some help to work through your semi and unstructured strategy and plan. Invest the time into this and get some help to actually understand how to tap into its potential. Ensure that you're breaking the problem into bite-sized chunks. The problem with unstructured data is it's so huge, sometimes it becomes absolutely overwhelming as to where to start. Try to develop a plan for unstructured data, find a starting point and build the basics, build the foundations. Make sure that your expertise goes beyond indexing and into insights. Being able to analyse and augment data when it's being indexed is very important as well. When you do this, you can then reuse and understand where you need to invest, explore the options of modern digital capabilities that can best integrate with your legacy systems. Get the insights into the right hands. Ensure that the solutions focus on effectiveness and efficiencies. Data should be democratised. We can't say that enough. Not something only for the scientists or trapped in silos. And finally, stop using the unstructured data initiatives as an excuse to start. I've talked to many businesses. Oh, we're busy building a data warehouse. Oh, we're implementing ETL tools. We're busy doing data governance. All great things. Don't use that as an excuse not to tap into the unstructured data world. And finally, when you're on the way to understanding your unstructured data, you actually find a whole heap of opportunities that pop up. So a good example is personally identifiable information, a very hot topic since the Optus and Medibank data breaches last year. PII sits in unstructured data everywhere, but can you actually find it? And how do you find it? Because we have the right to have our data protected no matter what form it sits in. It's the institution's responsibility to collect it and then protect it, yet they can't find it in an unstructured data source. PII and the ability to actually find PII as you're indexing data and getting the insights is critical, and we all deserve better protection from identity fraud.